We have with us today Assistant Secretary Jose Fernandez. He's been traveling in Southeast Asia for the last week. He was in the Philippines, Burma, Thailand, and now in Singapore. While in the Philippines, he was discussing a range of trade, agricultural, biotechnology, and corporate social responsibility issues. While in Burma, he discussed ways to enhance economic ties with our friends in the government there. While in Thailand, he was talking about mutual commercial and trade priorities, and now he's in Singapore for a variety of meetings. Assistant Secretary Fernandez, I would like to invite you to make opening remarks before we take questions from the journalists. Thank you, sir.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you. I'll be brief to leave time for questions. It's really been great to be here. We have been in 4 countries in a little bit over a week. Started in the Philippines, went to Burma, Thailand yesterday, and today here in Singapore. And at every step of the way, I have been speaking to government officials, but also U.S. companies and our chambers of commerce in order to see how we can help their businesses, and also to talk about some of our major objectives in this part of the world. As we talk about our pivot to Asia, we've been very keen to emphasize our economic relationship. Our trade and investment relationship with this part of the world is quite vibrant, and we very much appreciated the presence of American firms in the region. The Philippines was my first stop, and there we had a number of discussions about what the Aquino government is trying to do on the economic front, and the steps that they have taken to promote foreign investment in the Philippines, as well as promote transparency, anti-corruption, and other efforts. And it's really it's amazing, really, how well the Philippines has been doing in the last couple of years, and in part that's an outcome of the economic decisions taken by the Aquino administration. I also spent a lot of time while there talking about and highlighting the people-to-people ties that we have with the Philippines. We have as many as 4 million Filipino Americans in the U.S., and it's important to not overlook that we have a long history with the Philippines. In Burma, I focused I met with a number of U.S. companies that were there as part of a delegation sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. And we spent one day in Rangoon and another day in Naypyidaw. And there I talked about our policy on sanctions, how we have pursued a calibrated approach to sanctions, how we have eased sanctions and have moved towards a more normalized relationship. Participated in a business symposium where we had over 50 U.S. companies and over 300 Burmese business people. And there, the point that I kept making over and over again is the importance for American companies to invest responsibly, and that's something that I think resonated both with our companies and with Burmese government officials. I was in Bangkok yesterday to talk about to our Chamber of Commerce, and also to speak to the government about a number of the issues there. And then today I will be here. My day is just beginning, and I will also meet with government officials as well. In addition to the country by country summaries that I've just given you, I think there are a couple of overarching themes that we have been trying to make during this trip. One is the importance of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, what a high priority that is for our administration. and our desire to have the TPP be a vehicle for promoting high standards for the 21st century, not just on commercial issues, but also on related issues such as labor and the environment. And another theme here that it's very, very interesting to see how it plays is the regional integration and connectivity theme. This is one of the large, fastest growing regions. We believe that a number of the initiatives that are in place and are being discussed now will increase connectivity that will help sustain the growth that we've seen in this part of the world. That ties with a number of themes that we have made over the years in the U.S. One of them is something that I have personally spent a lot of time pursuing, and that's infrastructure. As we look to connect this region, as we look to integrate this region, there will be opportunities and needs for U.S. companies to become involved in electricity, in roads, in telecommunications. All of these are industries in which the U.S. is a leader, and we believe that's both an economic opportunity and as well as a strategic imperative for the U.S. Another point that I kept making was, again, the corporate social responsibility point, that there was an opportunity here to promote what I call the American brand. The fact that U.S. companies are not simply in these places to sell the tastiest hamburgers, but also to be good neighbors, good employers, and good citizens. One way for us to continue our success in this region, and I made this point specifically in Burma, is to strive to be great partners in these communities. And this is a theme that I think, and I'm proud to say that our companies are to be credited for this kind of responsible investment theme is one that's resonated with both government and civil society partners. And then the point that I've made in a number of places, principally in the Philippines, but also yesterday in Thailand, was agriculture, and how technology and agriculture can help to promote food security, development, and economic growth, and how countries can follow science-based regulatory systems, and how we can work with those countries as they try to deal with the general reality, not just in this part of the world, but in the entire world, that by the year 2050 we'll have 9 billion people, 2 billion more than we have today. We'll need 60% more food, and how technology as well as post-harvest, trying to use technology to reduce post-harvest losses can help to deal with that need. So those have been the general themes of my trip, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those opening remarks. We're going to start with a caller from Beijing, Taijing Magazine. Caller, we're going to unmute you. If you could identify yourself and please state your question. Go ahead.
Hi, hello.
Yes, hello. Go ahead.
Hi, hello. Good morning, Mr. Hi, this is Tiffany from Taipei Magazine, and I have got a question about the TPP agreement. You cite it's one of your general themes here, and I think China is the biggest trading partner of the ASEAN countries, and is not quite supportive of this agreement, to be frank. And how do you see the possibility of including ASEAN countries into TPP as a whole, or just the individual countries into this package? And secondly, China is also working on RCEP agreement with ASEAN countries. So, from your perspective, do you regard it as a competitor to TPP? Thanks.
I'm sorry. Can you Can you repeat? I missed the question. We weren't getting a good reception here. Is it something about China and the TPP? But
yes. So I will repeat that.
I'm sorry?
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And yes, China is the biggest trading partner of Asian countries, and to be frank, it's not quite supportive of TPP. And so, how do you see the possibility of including Asian countries into TPP as a whole, or just including some individual countries? And secondly, China is also working on RECP, it's also a free agreement with the Asian country. So, from the perspective, do you regard RECP as a competitor to TPP? Thanks.
Okay. Thank you for the question. Look, we have made it clear that the TPP is really an open architecture that will provide an opportunity for countries to join in the future when they are prepared and willing to take on TPP obligations. Our goal in the TPP is to eliminate barriers to trade and investment throughout the region. And doing so, we are fully aware will involve challenging decisions for all TPP countries, including the United States. We also will have to make some decisions. We've made it clear that the TPP is open to all countries in the region that are prepared to meet what are ambitious commitments. To us, the real question is, which countries think that they may be prepared to do that. But the answer to your question is the TPP is organized, and the architecture is organized to allow for more countries to join. And in fact, we will want more countries to join as long as they're willing to meet the very high ambitious requirements of the TPP. And that I think. With respect to the RCEP, it's not surprising given the dynamism that we're seeing in the Asia Pacific region that we have a number of initiatives underway to facilitate expansion of economic and commercial opportunities, and we don't see these efforts as mutually exclusive. In fact, we're pleased that the countries in the region are looking at integration, are looking to reduce barriers, and we do not see these two efforts as mutually exclusive.
Thank you for your answer, sir. The next question will come from Australia, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Caller, please state your name and your question. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lexi Netherell. I'm a journalist with the ABC in Sydney. I was just wondering, Assistant Secretary, if during your travels through Southeast Asia, the issue of currency was raised at all. I mean, I know there's been a lot of debate about the currency wars, the alleged currency wars. I'm not asking you to comment on that, but I just wondered if people around the region are raising concerns about the rate of, the US dollar in particular.
That's an issue that we reserve, as you know, for our Treasury Department, but it was not raised in my discussions, and maybe that they understand that that's something that we leave for our Treasury colleagues.
Thank you, sir. I would remind callers on the line, if you have a question, to press 9-1 on your telephone handset to queue up for questions. The next caller comes from Beijing. It's Caixin Press. Caller, if you could please state your name and your question. Thank you.
Hi, Qingchen with Caixin Media. I have a question on the White House new anti-theft trade strategy. And the strategy mentioned that...
Anti-what, I'm sorry?
Anti-theft trade strategy.
Anti-theft. I'm not on... Anti-theft.
mitigating the theft of trade secrets of the U.S.
Anti-theft, sir. Anti-theft.
Yes, anti-theft. Yeah.
Okay.
The strategy mentioned that the U.S. will seek through USTR-led trade negotiations, such as the TPP, the new provisions on the trade secrets protections. I was just wondering, do you talk this issue with your counterparts during the trip? And does this mean that there will be, in the future, more frictions over IPR issues and economic espionage between the U.S. and China? Thank you.
Thank you. This is an issue that I don't remember speaking to really any of our government officials about in great detail. But I suppose that what I would say about this is, we've got a growing concern about the threat to economic and national security across the world that's posed by cyber intrusions. We are taking an active approach to addressing this issue, including through diplomacy, and we continue to raise our concerns for a while about cyber intrusions with senior officials in this region, including Chinese officials, and this is something that we will continue to do. I think it's important that we have a meaningful dialogue with China on cyberspace issues, and that we work together because we need to develop a shared understanding of acceptable norms and of behavior. So let me just leave it at that. This is not an issue that was discussed in great detail with my counterparts, but it is something that we have continued to raise concerns about.
Thank you, sir. Our next question comes from here in Tokyo, Nikkei Shimbun. If you could please state your name and ask your question. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Fernandez. This is Yasu Ota with Nikkei in Tokyo. Welcome back to Asia. I have a question about the TPP again. I understand that both Thailand and the Philippines has expressed their interest in joining the TPP negotiation. And when you explain the idea and enthusiasm for your effort to have the TPP initiative to those nations, what response did you get? And did you hear their interest again clearly, or I just wondering how you can tell me about the reaction.
Sure. Thank you for the question. It is an issue that we have discussed in both the Philippines and in Thailand, that this has been an issue of interest. And the answer that we've always given is that the TPP is designed to include additional countries, and it's countries request to be included in the TPP. It's by consensus of all of the partner countries, and we realize that it takes some difficult decisions. We think that ultimately what the TPP aims to do is to lift all boats, is to improve labor conditions, get us to do the right thing by the environment, promote trade, create jobs, and that for countries that are interested in joining the TPP, obviously this has to be a joint decision of all of the partners. But the United States will work with them to as they try to work towards meeting those standards in preparation of joining the TPP. And in both the Philippines and in Thailand, that's the comment that I made.
Thank you, sir. We have several journalists gathered at our consulate in Shanghai, so I would invite the caller there who has a question to please state your name and your question. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Lin. I'm from 21st Century Business Herald. and I'd like to ask two questions. The first is also about TPP. So I'd like to say, what do you think of the joint statement just made between America and Japan after Abe visited the United States? From beginning?
I have to admit, I have been on the road, and I have not seen that statement. So I apologize. I can get back to you on that, or press people can get back to you. But I personally, I suppose it's the problem with being on airplanes. I have not seen it. I apologize.
Did you have a follow-up question, caller?
Thank you. And another question is about Burma. How will America engage Burma into the TPP and negotiation? Thank you.
Well, I think we've got Burma. Obviously, has to. There was not a discussion point with the government officials there. I suppose we have an aspirational goal of including as many countries as possible, but it was not something we discussed. What we talked about in Burma was their plans to. They are very keen on improving their infrastructure. They realize that in order for their country to develop, they are going to have to improve their electricity delivery. They will have to improve transportation, ports, airports, roads. They will have to improve their communication systems. So I think they understand that they've got a long road to really become an integrated market economy, integrated with the rest of the region. It was not something we discussed. But again, aspirationally, as I said earlier, it's our belief that the TPP can serve as a free trade agreement for this part of the world, and that's the open architecture that we are promoting generally with the TPP. It just was not.
Thank you, sir. Next question comes from Australia, the Australian Associated Press Wire Service. Caller, please state your name and your question, please. Thank you.
Hi, this is Adam Gartrell from AAC in Canberra. Thanks for your time, Mr. Fernandez. In his State of the Union speech this month, Barack Obama announced plans for a transatlantic trade agreement. I just want to ask, will that distract from or delay the TPP at all, and do you believe it's likely the TPP will be finalised this year? And also, Australia and the US appear to differ over investor-state dispute settlement clauses. I'm wondering how much of a barrier is that to a deal, and what's your message to Australia on that aspect?
Could you please repeat the second question?
Yeah,
the message to
Australia and the US appear to differ over investor-state dispute settlement clauses in the TPP. I'm just wondering how much of a barrier that is to a deal, and what your message to Australia is on that aspect.
Well, on the question of the first question you asked for on the TPP and the European agreement, look, we do lots of things at the same time. I think the term that we use in the United States is that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We are very keen to complete the TPP this year, and that's a goal that's been stated, and that's the goal. At the same time, we are prepared to begin conversations. Obviously, they're preliminary, but they're conversations with the European Union. So that's not going to be a problem. This is a priority, and in fact, we're excited. We're delighted to be able to have such an ambitious trade agreement. Just think, once these two agreements are completed, just think of what the free trade picture will look like in the future. On the dispute settlement clause issue that you asked with Australia, I don't particularly want to get into the specifics, especially because there will be the next meeting of the TPP partner countries here in Singapore in a couple of weeks. But I think ultimately we've got to keep our eye on the ultimate goal, and that is to create the kind of trade and investment climate that will allow all companies to trade with each other, to do so in a way that establishes a level playing field where the best companies are successful, and companies that are not successful have the chance to improve and to get better. We think that Australia has much to gain from a TPP. It's a country that it's a country that actually has been doing very well in recent years, and that would be my message. Let's just focus on the long term, which is creating economic conditions for trade and investment that help all of us.
Thank you, sir. Our last questioner is going to be from Kuala Lumpur, the Bernama National News Wire Service. Caller, please state your name and your question for the Assistant Secretary. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Novaizura. I'm calling from Malaysian National News Agency. My question will be, as you know, Malaysia is one of the countries negotiating TPP. After several rounds, what have been still the concerns and issues in completing the TPP, especially if your deadline is by end of this year? Can you describe the situation or the progress now? Thank you.
Again, with apologies, I'm having trouble cutting out. Could you repeat your question, please?
Hello, my name is Novaizura Basri, calling from Malaysian National News Agency. As you know, Malaysia is one of the countries that negotiating TPP. So I just want to know what's the progress between the two, and what are still the concerns and issues after several rounds of negotiating, and do you think it can be completed by your end? Thank you.
Well, I don't think it's our intention to try and anticipate specific issues. But this is an ongoing negotiation, so I think it's important that parties be able to discuss and negotiate in private. But again, the issues that we have, the issues that we have that affect the timing is that ultimately this is an 11 country agreement. It's a complex agreement, and there's a lot of consensus building that needs to take place in order for that agreement to be completed. We are all aware that this is a high standard agreement, and therefore, though that's going to be the issue, I'm sure that there are also specific issues with each country, but ultimately that's part of the negotiations, and it's also the kind of agreement where nothing is agreed to until everything is agreed to, and that increases the complexity of it.
Secretary Fernandez, thank you so much for your time today. I know you have a busy schedule there in Singapore. Thank you to all of our callers who were on the teleconference today. We'll be posting the audio from this teleconference in a few hours or maybe less, and we'll send that out to everyone on the call. Thank you again, sir, and have a good day.